They say there's a place you can reach by accident, a city that looks like ours until you look closer. It's hidden behind misted windows, forgotten streets, and wrong turns. They call it 7 Beyond. I was 30 years old, a developer from Curitiba, immersed in a routine of code and caffeine. One grey afternoon, while driving home, my car suddenly broke down. I pulled over to the side of the road and called for roadside assistance. As I waited, a sudden touch on my arm startled me. I turned to see a pale girl wrapped in a grey blanket, her eyes lifeless, her nails grotesquely long. She whispered in a hoarse voice, "7 Beyond, what is it?" Her breath was foul, and as abruptly as she appeared, she walked away. That night, I couldn't shake the encounter. I felt a heavy malaise, as if something had latched onto me. I couldn't eat, sleep, or find comfort. The next day, I called in sick, but my boss responded with unexpected aggression. Confused, I checked my sent messages and found that I had sent him a string of offensive texts, messages I had no memory of writing. Seeking medical help, I called a ride to the hospital. However, the driver took me to a desolate area on the outskirts of the city, insisting it was the address I'd provided. The place felt eerily familiar, like a scene from a nightmare. As I wandered, people with yellow eyes approached me, repeatedly asking, "7 Beyond, what is it?" Their voices were distorted, their laughter malevolent. Exhausted and disoriented, I encountered an old man named Joelson, who offered me a tattered blanket and told me not to forget his name. He disappeared into a dilapidated house, leaving me alone. Desperate, I drank from filthy puddles and wandered aimlessly, my body deteriorating. Eventually, I found myself back in Curitiba, near my workplace. A colleague recognized me, shocked by my appearance, and informed me that I had been missing for 15 days. As he went to get his car, I noticed a man nearby, glowing with a strange light. Compelled, I approached him, grabbed his arm and asked, "7 Beyond, what is it?" Instantly, I felt a surge of energy, as if a weight had been lifted. The man looked confused, and I fled the scene. Back home, I found seeds in my pockets, evidence of my ordeal. I planted one, curious about what might grow. To this day, I don't fully understand what happened, but I know that 7 Beyond is real. In 1994, I was a 19-year-old college student in São Paulo, just finishing a long class on marketing. As usual, I walked to the main avenue near campus to catch a bus that would take me to the metro station. I put on my headphones and pressed play on my Discman. Nação Zumbi was my soundtrack. I hopped on the first bus that arrived, not thinking much of it. I sat down, opened a book, and prepared for what should have been a 25 to 30-minute ride. About 15 minutes in, something odd happened. A woman sitting beside me tapped my arm and asked, "You're not going to 7 Beyond, are you?" I thought I'd misheard her. Did she say Setealém? But she looked at me again, more serious this time. "This bus is going to 7 Beyond. You should get off." I looked around, and every single passenger was staring at me. Blank faces, cold eyes. A woman standing near the front called out, "Yeah, get off the bus, sir." A man with a leather briefcase nodded slowly, then spoke louder, "Get off." Then the fare collector yelled toward the driver, "He's getting off." The bus screeched to a halt. It wasn't a designated stop, just a stretch of asphalt in the middle of nowhere. I grabbed my bag and stepped off as quickly as I could. The doors shut behind me and the bus took off. But not down the main road. Instead, it turned sharply onto a cobblestone slope I'd never noticed before. I stood there in silence. The name 7 Beyond burned into my memory. I asked friends, searched maps and guidebooks. Nothing. No such place. No such route. Days passed, then weeks. And then the dream started. At least once a month, I find myself there, wandering unfamiliar streets under a blood-tinted sky, where nothing feels real, but everything feels familiar. I still don't know what would have happened if I'd stayed on that bus, but I know this. 7 Beyond is not a destination. It's a warning. My name is Julio. I work at a gym in Porto Alegre, Brazil. I was relieved to find this community because the cursed name 7 Beyond just won't leave my mind. About 6 months ago, I went to the mall with my girlfriend to celebrate our 2-year anniversary. The usual date night, dinner and a movie. After the film, we walked around window shopping. She told me she wanted to check out a purse and asked me to wait near a newsstand. I had a hunch she was planning a surprise for our anniversary. I agreed and pretended to browse some magazines. She told me she'd be quick. While waiting, I went to the restroom, which was just across the hall from the newsstand. There were 4 or 5 people inside, typical for a weekend night. The urinals were all occupied, so I stepped into one of the stalls. I didn't even lock the door, just a quick stop. I placed my phone on the wooden shelf beside the toilet. What's strange is that I couldn't have been in there for more than 2 minutes. I remember hearing children laughing and people chatting nearby. But when I stepped out, everything had changed. The lights were yellowish, not white like before. A thick green stripe ran along the tiled wall. The mirrors were smaller. It didn't feel like the same bathroom. And suddenly, there was no one there, not even the kids. I brushed it off, assuming everyone had just left. I washed my hands and walked out. That's when things got really strange. The mall corridor was off. The store windows were empty. No mannequins, no products. The overhead lights were dimmer, almost like the building was running on backup power. I walked toward the newsstand, but it was gone. In its place was an antique store I'd never seen before. I went inside and asked the man at the counter about the newsstand. He stared at me, puzzled, and said, "There's never been a newsstand here. This has always been an antique store." Confused, I pulled out my phone to call my girlfriend, but I had no signal, not a single bar. I began walking the mall in circles. Every store was closed, every corridor deserted. It felt like I had stepped into a shopping mall abandoned midday. Eventually, I found an exit and made my way to the parking lot. My car was still there, but the entire lot was empty. I drove home in silence. When I got there, my girlfriend was waiting, terrified. She said she'd looked for me for hours inside the mall. I had vanished. She couldn't reach me. No one could. Since that day, I've had recurring nightmares about that restroom and about the hollow, echoing mall. And one word repeats over and over in my dreams: 7 Beyond.